Liebe Klavierfreunde, jetzt habe ich die Freude, ein ganz besonderes Interview ankündigen zu dürfen. Ich habe ein Interview gemacht mit der Lynne Arriale. Das ist eine Jazzpianistin aus Florida. Und es ist aus zwei Gründen ganz speziell. Zum einen, ich habe zum ersten Mal ein englisches Interview geführt. Das ist nicht unbedingt meine Muttersprache, mit meinem bescheidenen Vokabular, aber irgendwie hat es geklappt. Und zum zweiten, die Lynne Arriale ist mein Idol. Sie ist gleichzeitig meine Lehrerin, schon seit etwa 10 Jahren. Und wir kennen uns mittlerweile so über die Zeit auch schon ziemlich gut privat und wir haben es vielfach auch sehr lustig miteinander. Und falls ihr noch nie was von ihr gehört habt, immer wenn so Umfragen stattfinden, in Amerika bei diesen Jazzmagazinen, dann kommt sie immer wieder um die Top 20 von aller Jazzpianisten, also global. Und den letzten Platz hat sie, glaube ich, belegt, Platz 13 oder so. Aber ist eigentlich nicht so relevant. Ich möchte euch nur aufzeigen, sie spielt einer so in dieser Liga von Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea und all diesen unglaublichen Pianisten. Und was speziell ist an ihr, und das merkt ihr auch im Interview, also sie ist sehr ehrlich, sie ist sehr authentisch, sie gibt sehr viel auch von sich preis, wo sie steht. Und sie kann auch während dem Unterrichten sich immer voll und ganz auf das spielerische Niveau eines Schülers einlassen, ohne das zu werten. Und so erlebe ich sie auch. Und sie hat mich massiv beeinflusst, in positiver Weise hoffe ich jetzt mal, wie Zapiano entstanden ist, die Art, wie ich unterrichte und was ich so mache. Und ja, hört doch einfach mal rein. Also ich wünsche euch viel Spaß. So today I have a very special guest, and today in my interview it's my favorite piano player, it's Lynne Arriale. Lynne, welcome here for the interview.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I want to say hello to your 10,000 students.
Yes, there might be 10,000. We don't know exactly, but there might be some of them, yes, for sure. But out in this world, there might be some people who don't know you. I mean, I know you for about 15 years right now, but even you're a pretty famous piano player. Would you just tell a little bit about yourself, about your musical journey, how you get into music, or where did you get started to play the piano?
Sure. I started playing the piano when I was about 4 years old, before morning kindergarten, and we had a little toy plastic piano about this big. And I would play little songs that I had heard off the radio or from musicals. I remember as a child, I would not take a nap in the afternoon without having a little phonograph playing music. And I started to translate what I heard and would play by ear and figure out melodies. And I did that at a young age before I started studying formally. And I begged my parents to let me study with a local piano teacher. And they went to talk to her, and she said, "Oh, she's way too young." Of course, now, if a 4-year-old wants to study, teachers will accept a 4-year-old, I'm sure, because we have all these young geniuses coming up. And so anyway, I had to wait a couple years, I think, and then she started teaching me. And she would play the songs on the piano for me the week before, and then I would go home and kind of remember them and come back and play my version.
Your version? You're already a jazz player at this stage, right?
Kind of. My version of those songs. And until she realized that I was not learning to read music. And she said, "I'm not going to play these for you anymore." And then I knew I was in trouble. And, I was very resistant to learning how to read music. It felt very confined.
Really? You were resistant? That's interesting to hear that.
I have many things that I'm resistant to, but this was one of them. And I remember with this piano teacher and other piano teachers that they would circle the music, the wrong notes. The first week it was blue ink. The second week it was red ink. The third week it was green ink. So the music looked like a disaster,
Okay.
And I didn't really pay much attention to that. I would go home and play whatever I wanted. And since neither of my parents were musicians, they didn't know what I was doing. And I was just kind of noodling at the piano. So, I did that, and I drove my teachers crazy. And I think at a certain point I wanted to quit because I didn't like playing the piano. And this is maybe age 10, 11, 12, whatever.
So sorry for interrupting you. Yes, so they kind of force you to read sheet music, but you didn't want to. You were more attached to play just by ear and your own versions, just your own musical journey at this point.
Yes. And there wasn't anybody who knew anything about improvisation, so they couldn't say, "Okay, well, we're going to learn the music as it's written, but then you can make up your version of this little song." which would have been very easy for them to do, but they didn't know. That's okay,
Okay.
And so then I told my mother, I said, I don't want to study piano anymore. I hate going to lessons. And I think my teacher hates it when I come for lessons.
So on both sides.
She was ready to scream. And she was a nun. She was a nun, a sister.
Yeah.
And so I think I really tried her patience. She probably prayed a lot to give her strength to deal with me.
Okay. So I have sometimes the same thoughts, you and me. But anyway, we come to this later. Okay. So at what point or what age did you decide to study classical piano?
Well, I was studying classical piano, not very well, but and when I wanted to quit, I went up to Sister Romana and I said, I don't want to study anymore. And she said, to my total shock, I thought she would have been thrilled that say, okay, Lynn, have a nice life. But she didn't say that. She said, I'm sorry, I can't let you quit. You have a God-given gift and it would be a sin. I thought,
Oh, really? So she encouraged you to continue your classical studies with her.
yeah, but I knew I couldn't do that because we were getting nowhere, So I thought I need a fresh break. So then I went to study at the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music with Adelaide Banazinski, who was a pretty well-known classical teacher. She had a student, Ralph Vodopek, who was a great concert pianist, and a couple other people who were, really outstanding. And so I studied with her for a few years and had a lot of problems with technique. She didn't really teach me technique of how to play the piano. So I was very tight, and my technique wasn't good. Okay. And it's funny how I think a lot of times teachers don't talk about technique as if it's supposed to just happen. And playing the piano is not a natural act.
Yes, I have this feeling every day.
I know,
yeah, for sure.
I know the feeling. So I studied with her, and then I met Rebecca Pennies, who had just come to the conservatory, and she was a concert pianist and had played all over the world and won many competitions. And I went to play for her, and she said, if you're really serious about this, I'll take you as a student, but we've got to start over with your technique. And that was like 17 at this point.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So then I studied really hard. I practiced, and she gave me really hard pieces to work on that were like the Chopin B-flat minor sonata and many other things.
Awesome.
And it was way higher than my level. But she said, we're going to take care of a whole lot of technical problems by giving you pieces that are very challenging. So I studied with her for about 7 years, and I ended up getting a master's from her. I was living in Wisconsin, where I grew up, and I got a bachelor's degree at the University of Wisconsin in Madison in music theory, just because I was studying with her in Milwaukee and going in for lessons every week. So, and then when I graduated, I came to study more with her because I had so much more to learn. She was so great. And it was around the end of the time that I was graduating that she got a job at the Eastman School of Music, which is a very prestigious school in Rochester, New York. And so I feel very lucky to have studied with her for all those years. And she ended up being on the Eastman faculty for like 30 years. She's still there. And what was that?
Really? She's still there? She's still teaching there?
Still teaching, yeah.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, and then I was finishing up my classical degree and getting ready for my recitals and so forth.
Yeah.
And I was walking down the street, like this really happened. And I heard in my head, you should study jazz.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Not I should study jazz. You should study jazz. So we don't know who is talking. But
really? Okay.
That's just, who knows, whatever. And I didn't even know what jazz was. I didn't know that it was improvised music. The only jazz I had heard was a little bit of Dave Brubeck.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that in jazz we play the melody of the song and then we make up new melodies over the chord changes and also maybe vary the melody.
Yes.
So I started studying. And the first lesson with a fellow named Tony King, who was, about 65 years old at the conservatory. And he sat me down and he put Round Midnight in front of me. He said, read that. So I kind of stumbled through it. He said, now kind of play over those chord changes.
Yes.
And I said, You're kidding.
Chord changes for a classical piano player. That might be something weird.
I mean, I could play a basic, chord, because I could play by ear, so I kind of had a little bit of that. And I said, "You're kidding. You get to make up new melodies over the same chord changes?" He said, "Yeah, that's jazz." And I said, "Wow, this is amazing." So I studied with him for a while, and then I ended up doing most of my training when I was in Milwaukee with David Hazeltine, who was a great pianist and teacher. So that's how I got started. And I realized that I had to do this.
That's awesome. So it was a completely new journey. And at this time, you completely quit your kind of classical music career?
Yeah, because I didn't have enough time. I realized I was starting late. I was 25.
Yes.
And so I
I had the same feeling. We have some similarities, Lynne. Both
Yes.
of you. Yes. Okay. I mean, you're completely on a different level, but there are some same situations in life situations, for example.
Yes. I felt like I needed to catch up to everybody, and I still feel that way. So that's how I started. And then I eventually moved to New York and started playing with people there and brought my little demo tape around to different clubs to get work, and was very fortunate to play with some great musicians right when I came to New York, like Elliot Zygmunt, who had played with Bill Evans.
Great.
Jamil Nasser, who had played with Ahmad Jamal for many years. Frank Gant, who also played with Ahmad Jamal. Harvey S., he was Harvey Swartz then, was a very well-known bassist, and many others. Rufus Reed. Yes. And they did duo gigs with me, and God, who knows? I did the best I could, and I learned so much from them. So
that's awesome.
Started in New York.
And at this point, I think you already started to do your own recordings, your trio recordings, right?
Yeah, that happened around 1993. I won the Great American Jazz Piano Competition.
May I show you this one?
What was that? No, that's not the first one. The first one is The Eyes Have It.
Okay.
It goes back further.
Okay.
I'll show you a picture of it if you want. It's not even in print anymore, I don't think.
Okay.
And that was my first recording. It was with Jay Anderson and Steve Davis for DMP Records.
Yeah.
And then I've done about 13 CDs. I have a 14th CD out right now, which is called Give Us These Days. And so I've been touring, all over the world, and a lot of things in America, a lot of things in Europe over many years.
You see now, this new recording is just out, it went out, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
This is a trio recording. This is your newest recording. And for my personal taste, on a trio setting, you just shine the most, because all your musicianship, it will just goes through. I don't have the vocabulary to explain it, but for me, it's just the most touching thing. Lynne Arriale in a trio setting. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Where have you have been before? I interrupted you, sorry.
Wait, how did we meet? How did you and I meet? And I want to tell the New York story.
Oh, can I first tell the first story where we met first? So maybe you don't recognize it anymore. These are kind of private stories because Lynne, we know each other for a very long time. Even she doesn't recognize it because I was attending every concert that she gave in Switzerland, and I was just there, quiet sitting, and it goes back to about 15 years ago while you were playing in Zurich at the Wieder Bar with your trio at this time. And I was so thrilled about every note that I heard, because I heard many jazz piano players before, but for me, it just didn't came through to my heart somehow. And I heard you for the first time, and I was so thrilled because every single note just led organically to the next note, and there was space and notes and whatever, and this interaction play, and I was so thrilled about the whole concert. I think at the end of the concert I said hi, because I know you're connecting with your audience all the time after concerts and often, and then you were asking me, "Oh, do you play the piano too?" And I said, "No, not at all. I never played the piano." You might remember.
You play the piano.
But you don't remember this one. It was funny. And then, I was attending every concert that you gave in Switzerland. And then there was a funny situation. I was convincing my wife, who didn't listen to jazz at this point, and I said to her, "You have to listen to Lynne because this is so different than everything else." So she was joining me at the concert. It was at Moods in Zurich as well. And again, I was so thrilled because at this time, I think you were playing stuff from this CD. I think it was a kind of this CD with your new rhythm section at this point. And there was a funny situation because I said to my wife, if I would just grab one single lesson of Lynne, that would be awesome. Just kind of a, let's say, kind of a joke or whatever. I mean, it was just kind of a benefit for me. And she said to me, "No, don't do that. How embarrassing. Don't ask her. No, don't do that." And she said, "Yeah, for sure. She would join you to give her a lesson for sure. You are completely mad." And then I said, "No, she could say no." Okay. And then I was asking you, and she said, "Yes." I said, "Oh," she said, "Yes, what I'm going to do now?" And that was funny because next day we pick you up from the hotel, and then you joined me in my small little room with my piano. And then it was this heavy situation because I was sitting on the piano. You just take your seat and said, "Play something." And I was scared to death. And then I remember your first comment, you were acting like this. Okay, you left some few steps out. Which could be completely true, yes. And then it was funny. And at this point, after the lesson, to my surprise, you told me that you would continue to give me lessons. And yes, and it started, it's about 10 years ago, I think, already.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, probably you never heard the story like this.
Not quite like this, not quite,
Okay.
but a couple. But it's a really nice story.
Yeah,
And,
it's funny.
It's so nice knowing you all these years. You're such a great person, and you've done so many beautiful things with education and your teaching, your online teaching. I'm so thrilled to see all of the great things you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And then there's a funny story. Should we share this funny story from New York? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and at this point, it was about 9 years ago, I think. I just quit my job, my wife too, and we went to a world trip. And I just told you before, "Hey, Lynne, look, I'm going for travel. We will see you in a couple of months. I don't know yet exactly when." And we said, "Hey, okay, goodbye, see you soon." And then we were in Manhattan. It was about 40 degrees outside. It was awesome hot outside. And then we went to the subway, and in America they cool down the subway to about 20 degrees. So I felt a little bit dizzy in the subway. And I just told to my wife, "Oh, look, this wife over there, she looks like Lynne. Oh, I must be completely dizzy or somehow." It was so strange. And then she said, "No, that's her." And then I was yelling to you, and then you looked at me like,
We were in separate cars. We were in the car. I looked over there. He's going like this, and I thought,
"Yes.
what?
It can't be true." So you were thinking, "He's a stalker. He's a weird guy. He's a stalker. Or he's a ghost." But this can't be true.
That was an amazing. What are the odds of that happening? Right?
Yes,
in
awesome.
New York, like that you
Absolutely.
were in because and I was in the subway at that exact moment. I mean, and in two cars that were right next to each other. That
Yes.
like
Never
impossible.
happened. Absolutely impossible. So from this point on, I thought we are meant for each other somehow.
That was an omen, a positive omen.
Yes, funny. Okay. So, Lynne, can I ask you some questions about your practice and your future plans? Okay. So, something which is really interesting to almost everybody. How much do you practice? Because most of my students, they always think, "Oh, these guys, they are so talented, they can play whatever they can. They just can play. They don't practice."
Well, that's not true for me. It might be true for my colleagues. I don't know. But I need a lot of time to practice. I think of myself as a slow learner. I need lots of time and space to work on things. If I had 10 hours a day at the piano.
Practicing?
If I had that kind of time.
If you had, okay.
Yeah, but I don't. But I do things that I probably shouldn't tell you, like that I'm doing when I'm practicing because, I don't want your students to get bad habits, but whatever. I'm going to just tell. This is a tell-all. This is,
This is real.
Yeah, this is real life. I realized that when I'm working on technique, I don't want to have 100% of my focus on it. I want to have about 50% because I want it to be so easy that I could do it and be distracted. Because when you're playing with other people, you have to be listening to them. So a lot of this has to just be physical. It just has to be in your hands, whether it be scales or whatever. It has to be so easy that you could do it in your sleep. And so sometimes I have like, CNN or MSNBC, like news stations on, not so loud, but I'm kind of working on patterns and stuff like that. And I'm also watching, or a comedy or something like that. Not so much with movies, because movies, there's music and I always have to turn it off, because I'm playing something.
Yeah.
But it helps me work on things very carefully and, and not get tired,
Really?
But the other thing I did, because I had a bunch of injuries over the years, not from playing the piano, but from doing stupid things. Like for a year, I stopped working out my upper body. I just stopped going to the gym. I forgot. And I was touring a lot.
Yeah.
So I was dragging a suitcase, and all of a sudden I felt this snap, right back here. It was like this, like that, and I thought, oh, it's no big deal. And I was in Seattle at the time, and I went, and my arm started to hurt, and I went to an acupuncturist, or maybe it was a chiropractor, I don't know. And he said, oh, you've got a little bit of tennis elbow, it's called tendonitis.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay. He said, just wear this brace and it'll be fine. And so I continued on, and I came home, and I was sitting at the piano, and I played something. And now my neck was a little off, and the back was a little off. And all of a sudden, I felt everything get really bad, and I felt pain going up my arms. I would hit one note, and there would be pain all the way.
Oh.
So I spent a year and a half going for shots in the arm, not drugs, but to help the body bring more blood to the area of the tendon, because tendons heal very slowly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so just dumb things, not because of the piano. And I had to kind of relearn how I was playing and make sure there was like no tension at all.
No tension at all, yes.
I shouldn't say no tension at all, because when a key goes down, there is some tension, but it has to be released right away.
Yeah.
And none of that. It's more like subtle finger movements like that.
You showed me this right from the beginning. Yes, I remember.
It makes a difference, because beginning students figure they can just do anything, and maybe they can, but if you keep doing playing the piano like this,
without technique,
it's going to start to hurt. Trust me.
Yeah, sure.
So you have to learn it. It's, as I said, it's not a natural thing to play the piano.
Yeah.
It's not like walking. Walking is natural, right? We walk all the time.
Yeah, sure.
We lay down. That's natural. But playing the piano, all these fingers, many, tendons and nerves and all these kinds. There's a lot that can go wrong. So we have to be very patient. So one of the things I do when I'm practicing is I have the 5-minute rule, which I heard from another musician that really helps. So I have a timer on that every 5 minutes I stand up. I just stand up, just give it about 15 seconds, because somehow by releasing it, even if my form is not 100% perfect, and whose is, it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm releasing any tension that might have built up, and then I'm going back. Because years ago, I used to sit at the piano for like an hour at a time and not move very much. And that's also a recipe for injury, because when you don't move, if you don't move your body, the body just kind of sticks in that area. It just gets stuck. So we need a little bit of motion just to kind of keep things. And when I keep things, looser. And when I see older videos of myself, I see I wasn't moving very much, which is not good, plus it doesn't look so good. I mean, just a little motion when we're playing.
I noticed that. It looks beautiful. Yes, it looks beautiful. It looks very natural and organic. I noticed that when you're playing, yes.
But I'm doing that intentionally so that it keeps my arms moving. Yep. I mean, if you're moving your arms like this, it's very hard to tense them up. It's very hard. So if there's a little bit of movement, it helps a lot. And when I teach my students, I have them, make sure that their elbow is leading when they're doing scales, so that they're moving this part of the arm to help the fingers, so that the fingers don't have to work so hard. So anyway, I have a whole routine, but my warm up, my scales, or however I'm warming up, could last an hour and a half, because I start very slowly. When I start practicing piano, I don't just sit down and play. I never want to do that. I always want to warm up. So I first stick my arms in hot water in a sink.
Okay.
And that helps to warm up the tendons. I learned that from a chiropractor who dealt with a lot of symphony musicians. And he said, stick your hands in hot water before you play, because then they're already starting to warm up. So there's less chance of creating an injury. So I do that every single time. And if I get delayed by a half hour, I stick my hands back in the hot water again and start all over. And then I go and I do, 5 minutes of this, 5 minutes of that, 5 minutes. And I work up the tempo, starting very, very slowly. And when I deal with my own students, I have private students, and I also have students at the University of North Florida, where I am a professor. And I come in and I say, let me hear how you were practicing scales. I always ask them, let me see how you are doing it if I weren't here. And even though I have it on their Google Doc, exactly how to do it, half the time they start fast. And I said, I need you to start slowly, every day, and go ta, 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 with each note. And, the fourth or fifth repetition, you need to lighten up, make it looser as you're repeating it. Just going up and down the keys once or twice does not help you really get the muscle memory for the fingers. Part of this is a lot of just repetition, good solid repetition. So anyway, I have a whole routine, and I never get through it half the time. But a perfect day for me would be like a holiday where nobody expects me to email them back because it's a holiday, and the phone won't ring, and I get to be in my room.
That would be the perfect day. So hopefully these days are coming soon.
I would bet on it.
Okay, let's see. So, Lynne, if somebody would just start to play the piano, what would be your first advice? Because my 90% of my audience, of my students, are just beginners. They're adults who are dreaming all the time, oh, someday I want to learn the piano. What would be your first advice to them?
First, know that you can do this.
That's great.
Okay,
encouragement, kind of encouragement, yes.
Yes, you can do this. Now, if you were to learn a foreign language, like say you would start to learn French or Italian, and you don't know those languages, you would have to start at the beginning, and you'd have to repeat things over and over and over to create new neurological patterns in your mind. You would have to do it over and over and over. So
repetition.
Just accept that you're going to have to do that. And correct repetition is really important. If you repeat something that is incorrect, the mind doesn't necessarily know that. It says, oh, that's fine. And you play every day. You play wrong. I'm sorry?
Yeah, sorry. It was my normal stage before I met you, probably. Yes, I mean, that's exactly what you told me. Yes, for sure. What you told me over and over again. Yes, and you're a very patient person, for sure. Yes.
But if you repeat something incorrectly, like say 5 days in a row, the brain says, that's it, that's right. And then when you try to undo it, oh my God, the brain keeps saying, oh no, it's this. And even though I might tell a student, okay, now do it 3 or 4 times correctly, they still go back to the old way because that was the initial imprint. So that's why it's important to slow things down, do right hand first, the first bar. I always have students tap out the rhythms. So if it's like, twinkle, twinkle, little star, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that sounds very easy, but I think we need to always take care of rhythm first. Because when we're looking at music, we've got at least two things going on. One, the rhythm of what we're playing, whether it's classical music or jazz. 2, the notes. So if you practice the rhythm alone, so your eye gets used to seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you see it, but you don't have to focus on them. Then you can focus on the notes.
Yes, so you have to just internalize the basics first to really understand and really to move on with further aspects of playing.
Yes, and I have an analogy that I use with my students. I run them through this test, and for anybody who's listening to this can kind of do this in your head. So, because I want you to feel this. Okay, so I say, what's 2 plus 2? And I say, 3 plus 6, 7 plus 9, 34 plus 72. And then everybody's like, ah! Okay. So what's 2 plus 2? Everybody goes, 4. Did you have to think about it? Did you have to pull out a calculator? No. You've done 2 plus 2 so many times in your life that you don't have to think about it. That's how easy it has to be. And so when I say to my students, is this as easy as 2 plus 2? I know it's not, but I want them to know it, and they'll say no. And they get good at saying it's not ready. And I have another analogy. You've heard these, but I want to tell it. I don't want to tell your
students. It's from my audience, for sure.
Sure. So when you're baking a cake, most people have either helped bake a cake, or have watched someone bake a cake, or they've actually baked a cake. So when you pull the cake out of the oven and you take a toothpick in and you put the toothpick in and it comes out all gooey, what do? Well, you put the cake back in the oven. And I always ask students, why? Well, because it's not done yet. It's not baked yet.
It's not done yet.
So
it's not solid. Yes.
It's not solid. So the same thing with music. If you're practicing a phrase and it's not 2 plus 2, instead of going, oh my God, I'm a failure. I can never have, I'll never be able to play the piano. No, you just haven't practiced this 100 times.
Exactly. I mean, these are the thought patterns, these negative thought patterns that most of my students also have them. Yes, for sure.
Well, we all have them. In fact, if I hear a recording of something I did at a concert that I go, oh God, if I do that, which happens, a fair amount, if I do that, what I'm trying to say to myself is, oh, I know, I just haven't practiced this enough. I need to practice this more, whatever it is. And then it takes it out of judging yourself like, oh, that's terrible, to saying, oh, what did I expect? I need another 100 hours on this.
Yes, exactly.
And then it's like, then you have a path of how to get it better, make it better.
That's exactly how I know you as well, because I consider yourself very patient. I mean, especially when you're teaching me, you must be patient. And what I really appreciate, because all of these thought patterns, because I have this kind of same thought patterns, because when you are listening to me, I'm in a kind of tense, because I know, oh, Lynne is listening to me, oh, that must be hard for her. These negative thought patterns, they begin to start, and I really have to tell myself as well. I mean, even I tell that to my students as well. Hey, look, if you just can't do it and it's not easy, then just keep going and practice, but don't judge yourself. Exactly. I mean, the same thing that you are telling now, I'm telling to my students.
Good. Excellent. Well, I thought of something else. Like, let's say someone is having trouble getting the first phrase of a song, okay? Now, for example, I happen to have a piano here. If they were to go, like, say they're learning Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and they keep going, and they keep doing it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Right away, that's not the most efficient use of your mind, because you're already on the keys, you're already playing it. What I would have them do is, 1, hand off the keys, now back. Like, give it a little break, a little breath, because then the mind has a chance to say, oh, I have to do this like it's the first time.
Yes, exactly.
And or you come back an hour later and try it again, but do a bunch of repetitions and put your hand on your lap.
Take it off.
The piano. Because or if you're learning a new chord voicing, you say, well, I can do this. Sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't help you get it better. Hand off.
Yes, exactly.
Hand off. Yeah, I learned that from Kenny Werner, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he said, awesome. You need to separate the physical connection with the piano. You need to disconnect with it and then find it again. So your mind has to go and figure out what it is.
Exactly.
So that's really important.
Awesome. Lynne, so if you're one of my online students and you're able to understand what Lynne is talking about, you probably know it already, because you saw now all these teaching secrets that I'm telling you. I learned it from Lynne. I mean, I'm doing exactly the same way with my students. They have to go away from the piano just for a short second, and then they have to reconnect their brain memories.
Totally. Yes. And by the way, I'd like to tell all your students that if you have ever had the experience that you play something and you think you have it, and then you come back the next day and it's gone, and it's like you're starting over, that happens to all of us.
Okay.
That happens to me a lot.
Really?
And I get like if it's really hard, like if it's new music or something, no, it's not that, okay, I can't say it's all gone, but sometimes it feels like it's gone. And I thought, oh my God, I had this yesterday. Well, guess what? There's only one answer. I guess I haven't practiced this enough. Now, back to the cake analogy, when that cake isn't done and you have to put it in for another 15 minutes, did anybody ever give up on life and give up on cake baking and say, I will never succeed at anything because they had to put the cake in for another 15 minutes? See, that's crazy, right?
Yes, for sure.
We do that to ourselves all the time. We say, I'm a terrible pianist. I'll never be able to do this. Mm-hmm. Well, no, it's just the cake isn't ready to come out of the oven yet. Now, when you're starting out and all these neurological pathways are brand new, it takes more time. It gets easier as you go along. And I have another analogy, which you've heard, and I'm sure you may have shared with them already. If you're walking in a field from point A to point B, in a field where the grass is very high, and every day you're walking in that field, and you come back the next day, you walk in that field. At the end of the month, what's going to be there?
You have gone through. Just take the first step.
At the end of the month, yes. At the end of the month, you probably will have a path.
Yes.
Because every day for like a half hour, you walk through that one thing. So the first day, you don't have a path. You just push the grass down. Second day, maybe not so much. Third day, maybe a little, but by day 30, you come every day and you push that grass down. You're going to have a path. It's the exact same thing with learning. So we got to be really patient and realize that we actually do need to repeat stuff a ton. And just like if you had to learn French, you have to conjugate verbs over and over and over and over until it became like just instantaneous. Yes. So I want you all to know, all your students and listeners to know that it takes more time than you think. And the sooner we say, okay, in fact, to me, life is like this. I am constantly struggling. I don't know about you, but you can tell me, I am constantly struggling with you too, with time in life. In other words, I think, okay, well, I'm going to check my emails. That's about a half hour. Oh no.
It's 1 hour.
I'm going to do this particular thing. Oh, that's about an hour. Oh, no, it's not. It always ends up being more. And I'm always frustrated because it takes much longer. I'm going to go to the store. That should be about an hour. Oh, no, there's traffic or whatever.
Yes.
So if we can just get used to that and, I think everything would be a little easier just to build in more time that actually takes longer than we think.
Yes, just to lower sometimes the expectations about our abilities to learn something new.
Correct. Yep.
Yes. That's what I tell to my students as well, all the time. Yes.
The beauty, the wisdom of lowered expectations. Now, that's kind of, nowadays if we say low expectations, I always say set the bar really low. There's an expression in America, we want to set a really high bar for our excellence.
Sure.
Yeah, but then every time we do something, the bar is way up here and we don't feel like we're not even close. But what if the bar is here? The bar is here and we say, oh, I think I can do this. And then we get this and we say, okay, I'm going to raise the bar a little bit now. Okay, yeah, I guess I think I can do this. But if it's up here and you're down here, it's a long distance.
Exactly.
And it's easy to get frustrated and to feel like I can't do this.
Sure.
When people say to me, they say, oh, I tried playing the piano, or I tried playing jazz, and I have no talent for that. And I sometimes I say something, but you don't need talent. It helps. But do you need talent to speak English or to speak German? No, yes. You need like a lot of study.
Yes.
Some people will get it faster than others. I think people get things faster than I do. But talent, it's hard work.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, Lynne. Awesome. Can we move on to some your latest recording and your future plans? Will it be okay for you? So yes. you just your latest recording with your there's a new rhythm section from Holland. How do you get them?
I was introduced to Jasper Somsen, who's the bassist and my co-producer, by the people at Challenge Records, by Anna de Jong, who was the president of Challenge at that time. And I listened to Jasper's music, and I thought I'd like to really record with him. He sounds just great. And so it started that way, and then he recommended the drummer, Jasper van Hulten. And it was not easy to find a drummer whose name was Jasper, but that was really important.
You wanted to have a Jasper on drums?
Jasper and Jasper, to make it easy for me. Yeah, it was nothing to do with that. But and so they did a great job, and we had very nice chemistry together. And the material was very challenging.
Yes, I heard it.
So, but I felt really good about the group. So
that's great. So how long did you rehearse before doing the recording?
We had one rehearsal the day before, and then we recorded 2 10-hour days. It was hard. Plus, I was jet lagged. So while they would go and have an hour lunch, I would pass out upstairs. I mean, pass out. I didn't even know where I was. Because so much energy was going into this.
Yes.
It's really exhausting doing a recording.
So did I understand it correctly? You just did 1 day rehearsal with them?
Yeah.
That's hard to imagine for all the people out there. So this means if you have learned your stuff, you just can do 1 rehearsal per day, and then you put out the recording.
Yeah, well, we had to continue to refine when we were recording. Like we'd listen back and say, "Hey, can we do more of this? I need more of this here," and more. Then we go do another take. So, but yeah, that's how it worked out. And so we got the overview the first day when we rehearsed.
Awesome.
And they're both seasoned musicians, so it wasn't like, and they had looked at the music beforehand as well. I sent them all the music, so they were prepared.
How did you send them the music? You just sent the lead sheet or a full arrangement?
Yeah, the lead sheet, and maybe a recording of me playing it, or just so they could hear it rather than just see it.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So we are almost at the end of the interview, Lynne. Is there something else you want to share with the world? So basically speaking, in terms of what does music mean to you, personally to you, and your life?
Well, it's a great way to spend a life. I'm constantly trying to improve as a musician and grow and learn and just open myself up to the music as much as I can. But I like playing for people also. And I want to reach out to them and have them feel better when they leave. Just feel a little bit better. Maybe...
Mission accomplished. I feel better all the time when I hear you playing, Lynne. For sure.
Thank you. Just even a little bit is okay. Because I think people are this is such a difficult time. This is such a stressful time. In this country, in America, oh my God. Every day it's more bizarre than the one before. It's crazy. And it's very stressful for many of us. And I think that music has the opportunity, has the potential to reach people and just kind of calm things down a little bit. It doesn't mean all the music is going to be quiet, but to engage people in this and to see democracy in action, to see a group cooperating and speaking to one another musically. And when I'm playing, I want people to feel like I'm speaking to them in my phrases. Now that's kind of it might be a little vague, but almost as if it's a human voice.
Yes, sure.
So I try to do that. I take big breaths before I start a phrase, because I'm hoping that will help them breathe. And breathing is so important to help us calm down and help us relax and just feel that we're here in the present time. The breath is just incredibly important. And I want people to have fun also at my concerts. Years ago, people would tell me, you never talk to the audience. All you do is get up and play. And I would say to them, it's really hard for me to play and talk, play and talk.
Yes, that's very challenging, for sure.
And keep my focus. But now it's getting easier as I get older, because as you get older, it's like you don't worry so much about things. I still worry. I have plenty to worry about, but it's less. So when I look at the audience, they're people. We're all people breathing the same air, as John F. Kennedy said. We share DNA. We're all related like, even if you go back, like, many, many years, you and I were probably related.
Somehow related.
For all you know, Sven, you and I were brother and sister, like, thousands of years ago. It's possible. It's possible.
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? So we're all related in some way. We're all human beings, and I just want to connect with people and have them have a positive experience and have fun with them and talk to them after the concert. And I really appreciate them coming up and just chatting with me because it matters to me. This work is too hard. Just the physical aspect of traveling and booking gigs and then promoting them so that you have an audience, to not have fun when you get there. I want to have fun with the musicians and with the audience.
Sure. And I feel that.
That's why I play.
That's great.
And I appreciate that people are there. I come with an open heart with gratitude because they could be sitting at home watching TV. And they came out, they got in their car, maybe had to get a babysitter for their kids, and they're here listening to the music. So I want to bring them, I want them to really have an experience with the music. And to really connect with the musicians that I'm playing with also. That's very important to me, to have a very kind of intimate conversation going on musically. And also to play songs that people recognize also, not just my originals, but songs like Let It Be or Here Comes the Sun, that people go, oh, or Wrapped Around Your Finger by Sting. And we do a lot of those tunes with our own interpretation so that people go, oh, that's that Sting tune. And then they can follow along. And I think that's important.
So, Lynne, we are at the end of the interview. Thank you very much for joining me. It was
Thank you. Thank you.
It was great. All your insights about practicing and playing. It was really awesome. And now I want to announce, I want to encourage you, all my audience, to join her, to attend one of her concerts. She will be playing in Switzerland at Marian's Jazz Room the 25th until the 29th of September 2018. And then she's moving on the 13th September at the Mew in Reutlingen, Germany. And if you have the chance to be there, then be there. I really encourage you. It will be a fantastic experience. And by the way, I will be there too at Marian's Jazz Room, and I will be kind of your personal assistant there. Okay. Thank you very much, Lynne. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.